Late night in Seattle. The 28th floor of Wynn Tower lay shrouded in darkness. Only the dim yellow hallway lights reflected off the cold marble floor. Owen Carlyle, 42, knelt down to mop. His moss-green uniform was drenched in sweat. His calloused hands ached after 8 straight hours of work. He wiped each tile one by one, following the same steady rhythm. A rhythm he had memorized after 3 years on the night shift in this building. Then he heard it. Clumsy, uneven piano notes, like someone fumbling in the dark, searching for something. Owen froze. His heart pounded. That sound, the one he had avoided for 10 years. But his legs, betraying reason, still carried him toward it. Toward the harmonia room, the music hall he had never dared to enter since his first day here. He cracked the door open. Inside, under the sterile LED glow, a little girl sat at a black Steinway grand piano. Her long brown hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Her bright blue eyes stared forward, but saw nothing. Her tiny fingers wandered across the keys, brushing scattered notes as if trying to solve a puzzle without the answer. Owen stood still. He recognized the melody. Claire de Lune, the piece Sarah, his wife, had loved most. But these notes were broken, disjointed, aching. The girl stopped, frowned. "Is someone there?" she asked softly, her voice clear in the empty room. Owen swallowed. He should leave. He knew he should, but he couldn't. "Yes," he finally said, stepping in. "I'm Owen. The janitor here." The girl tilted her head toward his voice, her unfocused eyes still fixed ahead. "I'm Emma," she said. "I can't see, but I can hear you." Owen looked at her, then at the piano. "What are you trying to play?" he asked, though he already knew. "I don't know the name," Emma replied, "but it sounds like water, like moonlight on a lake. My mom used to play it, a long time ago." Before she got too busy, Owen sat at the second piano, a few meters away. He hadn't touched a key since that night. The night Sarah never came home. "May I play with you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma smiled, a pure, unguarded smile that made Owen's heart break open. "Yes, please." He placed his trembling hands on the keys, then pressed the first note, then the second. And the melody began to flow, like water bursting free after 10 years of silence. Music returned to Owen Carlyle, and outside that half-open door, a woman stopped. Natalie Wynn, 38, CEO of Wynn Industries, stood in the shadows. Her pristine white suit, Hermes bag in hand, Jimmy Choo heels catching the faint light. Tears streamed down her flawless face. Because for the first time in 4 years, Natalie heard her daughter's laughter. "Do you believe that sometimes a stranger can bring back not only music, but memories into our lives?" If you're listening to this story, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next part, where Natalie discovers that the man mopping her floors is far from ordinary. Owen Carlyle hadn't always mopped floors. 10 years ago, he sat on the stage of Symphony Hall in Boston, dressed in the formal uniform of the U.S. Army Orchestra. The stage lights blazed. The hall was packed with thousands of people. But for Owen, only one person in the audience truly mattered. Sarah. She sat in the front row, wearing a simple navy blue dress. No jewelry, no heavy makeup, just that smile. The smile Owen had fallen in love with the first time they met at a small cafe near Berklee College of Music. Every time Owen played, he looked only toward Sarah, and she would nod gently, as if to say, "You're doing great. You always do great." That was 2014. Owen was 32. The future looked bright. They had just bought a small house in the suburbs. Sarah was pregnant with their first daughter, Mia. a life that seemed perfect. Then came November 17th, 2014. Owen remembers every detail. The concert ended at 10 p.m. As always, Sarah stayed to help him pack up his instruments. She drove home first because she was feeling a little tired. Owen stayed an extra hour to practice a tricky passage from Rachmaninoff. "Be careful," Sarah said, kissing his cheek. "Don't be too late." Mia's waiting for her dad. Those were the last words he ever heard from her. 11:42 p.m. His phone rang, an unknown number. "Is this Owen Carlyle?" A police officer's voice, cold and dry. "Yes, speaking. Please come to Massachusetts General Hospital immediately. There's been an emergency involving your wife." Owen felt his heart stop. He drove like a madman through the winter night. Snow had started to fall. When he burst into the emergency room, Sarah was lying on a bed, a respirator in her mouth. The faint beeping of the heart monitor echoed. Beep. Beep. The doctor spoke in an even, detached tone. Her car was hit head-on by a drunk driver. Severe brain trauma. "We did everything we could." Owen sat by her side all night, holding her hand, softly singing the pieces she loved, begging her not to leave him behind. 4:17 a.m. The beeping stretched into one long tone, a straight line on the screen. Sarah Carlyle, age 30, was gone. Owen didn't cry. He just sat there, motionless, staring at the peaceful face of the woman who had once been his entire world. A nurse gently pulled the white sheet over Sarah's body and whispered, "I'm so sorry." But Owen didn't hear a thing. Only silence remained. A silence that felt eternal. The funeral took place 3 days later. Snow fell thick and heavy. Owen stood beside the coffin, holding Mia, their 3-year-old daughter sobbing uncontrollably. His orchestra mates came, and they played Ave Maria, Sarah's favorite piece. Owen still didn't cry. He just stood there, like a statue. After the funeral, he returned home, sat down before the Yamaha piano in the living room, placed his hands on the keys, and couldn't play. His fingers froze. The music was gone. Each note felt like a blade driven into his heart. Sarah had been his reason to play, her smile, his inspiration. And when she was gone, the music died too. Owen tried once, then again. But the more he tried, the more the emptiness devoured him. Finally, he closed the lid of the piano and never opened it again. 6 months later, Owen left the Army Orchestra. He couldn't sit on a stage where Sarah had once sat in the audience. He couldn't listen to the pieces she had loved. He took the first job he could find, a night janitor at an office building in Boston. Then another place. And another. In 2021, when Mia was 10, he moved to Seattle. A new city. A new beginning. Or so he told himself. He was hired at Wind Tower, a 45-story skyscraper in the heart of the city. Night shift, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Mopping floors, emptying trash cans, cleaning conference rooms. No one asked who he was. No one knew who he had been. He was simply Owen, the janitor from the upper floors. And Owen liked it that way. He disappeared into the rhythm of the mop, into the hum of vacuum cleaners, into the silence of empty buildings at night. Every dollar he earned went to Mia. Tuition, clothes, books, everything. Mia thrived. She studied hard, laughed often, had friends. But sometimes, when her eyes met his, Owen saw a question she never voiced. "Why don't you play music anymore, Dad?" He never answered, because he didn't know how to explain that. A part of him had died with her mother that night. Until tonight. When Owen heard those scattered piano notes coming from the harmonia room, something inside him awakened. Something he thought was gone forever. And when he sat beside the piano, when he played alongside Emma, for the first time in 10 years, Owen Carlyle felt alive again. Emma Wynne was not born blind. She remembered colors. She remembered her mother's face when she smiled. She remembered the yellow butterflies fluttering through the sun-drenched garden of their old home. That was when Emma was 6. Her family had just moved into a new mansion on Queen Anne Hill, the wealthiest neighborhood in Seattle. Her father, David Wynne, had just founded Wynne Industries. Her mother, Natalie, served as the company's chief financial officer. Emma remembered that morning vividly. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. She ran down the stairs, holding up her pink kindergarten backpack. "Mom! Dad! Look at me!" But in the kitchen, her parents were fighting, their voices sharp, the laughter gone. "David, the company is losing money. We can't keep doing this." "Natalie, trust me. I'll fix it. Trust me? You've been saying that for 6 months?" Emma stood frozen on the staircase, not understanding. All she knew was her parents no longer smiled at each other. A week later, David Wynne disappeared. No goodbye, no letter. He left with $2 million from the company account, abandoning Natalie with mountains of debt and a 6-year-old child. Emma never saw her father again. Natalie didn't have time to fall apart. She had to save the company. She had to pay off the debts. She had to raise her daughter. She worked 20 hours a day, restructured Wynne Industries, laid off more than half the staff, negotiated with creditors. Bit by bit, she pulled the company back from the brink of bankruptcy. But the price was Emma. Most of the time, Emma stayed with the housekeeper, Rosa, a kind woman from the Philippines. Rosa took her to school, cooked her meals, read bedtime stories. Natalie came home at 11 p.m., when Emma was already asleep. The next morning, she left at 6, before Emma woke up. Mother and daughter lived under the same roof, yet were strangers. Then came the accident. Emma was 8. On a rare weekend off, Natalie decided to put work aside and take her daughter hiking in the Cascade Range, trying to make up for all the lost years. Emma was thrilled. She wore her favorite pink jacket, holding her mother's hand as they walked along a forest trail lined with tall evergreens. "Mom, I love you so much," she said, her voice bright and clear. Natalie smiled, pulling her daughter close. "I love you too." Then Emma saw a purple flower blooming near the edge of the slope. She let go of her mother's hand and ran toward it. "Emma! Be careful!" Natalie screamed. But it was too late. The little girl slipped, tumbled down the hillside. Her head struck a sharp rock. Blood. Silence. Then darkness. The hospital. Emergency surgery. Optic nerve trauma. The doctor spoke in a calm, professional tone. "We did everything we could, but the damage is too severe. Your daughter will never see again." "I'm very sorry." Natalie sat beside Emma's bed, holding that small hand, and for the first time in years, she cried. Cried for everything she had done wrong. Cried for all the days she wasn't there. When Emma woke up, she asked, "Mom, why can't I see anything?" Natalie choked back tears. She held her daughter tightly and could only whisper, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." After the accident, Natalie worked harder than ever, not out of ambition anymore, but out of guilt. She believed that if she earned enough money, if the company became truly successful, if she became the richest woman in Seattle, then maybe she could make it up to Emma. She hired the best teachers, the best therapists, the best schools. But she could never buy the one thing Emma truly needed: a mother. In 2024, Natalie Wynne officially became CEO of Wynne Industries. The company's revenue grew by more than 400%. She landed on the cover of Forbes, hailed as Businesswoman of the Year. But every night, as she stood in her office on the 45th floor, gazing over the glittering city of Seattle, Natalie felt only emptiness. Emma, now 12, attended Lighthouse for the Blind, the best school for visually impaired children in Seattle. She learned Braille, orientation skills, mobility, and independence. But she was lonely. No close friends. No one who truly understood her world. Emma lived in her own universe, made of sound, touch, and scent. And music. Emma discovered the piano entirely by accident. One day, Natalie brought her to the office because the housekeeper was busy. The girl wandered through the halls until she heard the sound of a piano coming from the harmonia room, a lounge used by employees. She stepped inside, touched the cool, smooth keys, pressed one note, and then Emma was enchanted. From that day on, she taught herself. No teacher, no sheet music, no Braille notation, only her ears and her heart. Every evening, while Natalie worked late on the 45th floor, Emma asked permission to go down to the harmonia room. Natalie agreed, thinking at least her daughter had something to do. But she had never truly listened to Emma play, until tonight. The night she stood outside the harmonia room door, hearing her daughter play and laugh. Not just that. Emma was playing with a stranger, a man in a janitor's uniform whom Natalie had never once paid attention to. And in that very moment, Natalie understood. That man had given Emma something she, the perfect mother on paper, never had. He had given Emma happiness. From that night on, Owen began teaching Emma. He never asked for permission, never told his supervisor. He just came. Every night, after finishing his cleaning rounds, he'd go up to the 28th floor, open the door to the harmonia room, and Emma was always there, waiting. "Mr. Owen!" the girl called out, her voice bright as glass. "Hello, Emma," Owen replied, sitting down by the piano. "So, what are we learning today?" Lesson 1. Feeling. Not seeing. "You can't see the notes," Owen said, "but you don't need to. Music doesn't live on paper, Emma. It lives here." He placed a hand over her chest. "Right in your heart." Emma frowned. "But how will you teach me if I can't see?" Owen thought for a moment, then said, "Then we'll both close our eyes." "But I've already closed mine forever," Emma giggled. Owen laughed softly. "That's true. Then I'll close mine too." He shut his eyes and placed his hands on the keys. "Now I'll play a melody. You tell me what it feels like." He played a few notes, gentle, sad, but tender, full of hope. Emma listened, then whispered, "It sounds like someone remembering something beautiful, but sad because it's gone." Owen's heart tightened. "Exactly," he murmured. "You got it." "Got what?" "Music isn't about technique," Owen said. "It's not about hitting the right notes. It's about telling a story, sharing emotion. When you play, you're giving the listener a piece of your heart." Emma nodded slowly. "So, I have to feel it before I play?" "Exactly." From then on, every lesson began with the same question. "How do you feel today?" If Emma said happy, they played cheerful tunes. If she said sad, they played slow, somber melodies. And when she said, "I don't know," Owen would simply smile. "That's okay. The music will help you find out." Lesson 2. The Colors of Sound. One evening, Emma asked, "Mr. Owen, what does a sunset look like?" Owen froze. He looked into those blue eyes that no longer saw the golden light of dusk, then swallowed and said softly, "A sunset is like a slow piece of music. It starts with yellow, bright and high, like treble notes, then turns orange, warm and gentle, then red, passionate and strong, and finally, purple, mysterious. Like a whisper, Emma tilted her head, listening. I think I get it. Colors are like different notes, aren't they? Exactly, Owen smiled. And you know what? You can still see colors, in your own way, through sound. He played a chord progression. This is blue, calm, cool. Then another. And this is red, fiery, full of life. Emma giggled. You're painting with music. That's right. And now, it's your turn, Owen gave her a challenge. Paint me a picture, with music. Emma chose the theme, rain falling on a lake. She played high, gentle notes, like raindrops, then added low, slow ones, like ripples spreading across the water. Then she blended them together. Rain and water became one. Owen went still. His voice trembled. You just made me see the rain. From that day on, Emma no longer felt sad about not seeing colors, because she had learned how to feel them, through her own music. Lesson 3. Mistakes are part of music. One night, Emma made a mistake. She pressed the wrong key. The melody broke apart. I'm sorry, she cried. I ruined it. Owen placed a hand on her shoulder. Emma, did you know some of the greatest music in history was born from mistakes? Really? Emma looked up, doubtful. Really? Owen smiled gently. There was a composer named Erik Satie. He wrote Gymnopédie. He played a passage. Slow, melancholic, hauntingly beautiful. Many people thought he was playing the wrong chords. But those so-called mistakes created the unique beauty of his music. Emma thought for a long time. So, mistakes can be good? If you learn from them, Owen said, if you make them part of your story, then yes. He replayed the section Emma had missed, adding a few new notes, turning the error into something fresh, different, and beautiful. See? There's no such thing as failure if you can turn it into art. Emma smiled and played again. Still a few wrong notes, but her playing was alive, honest, and beautiful. Lesson 4. Music is a bridge. Another evening, Emma asked, Mr. Owen, why are you teaching me? You don't get paid. You could get fired. Owen stayed silent for a long time, then said quietly, because you remind me why I ever played music in the first place. Not for money, not for fame, but to connect, to share, to make someone feel less alone. Are you lonely? Emma asked softly. Owen nodded. I used to be. After I lost the person I loved most, I thought music had died with her. And now? Owen looked at her. Now I know. Music never dies. It only sleeps until it meets the right person to wake it up. Emma reached out. Owen took her small hand. Thank you for teaching me, she whispered. No, Owen said, voice thick with emotion. I should be thanking you. You saved me. They sat there in silence. No music, just a man who had lost his past, and a little girl who once feared she had no future. Two souls finding each other in the present moment. Lesson 5. Everyone has their own song. Do you think my mom has her own song? Emma asked one night. Owen blinked in surprise. Your mom? Of course she does. What does it sound like? Owen thought about Natalie Wynn, the woman he'd only glimpsed in the hallway. Always flawless. White suit, shining high heels, a composed, distant face. But he also remembered that same face the night outside the harmonia room, standing still, tears quietly falling. Your mother's song, Owen said slowly, sounds like strength, pride, but underneath it, deep sadness. And beneath that sadness, love. A love so big she just doesn't know how to show it. Emma fell silent. After a long pause, she asked, "Do you think my mom loves me?" "I'm certain she does," Owen replied firmly. "It's just, sometimes adults don't know how to say it. They think food, clothes, a nice house, those are enough. But they forget the most important thing is—" He gently tapped her chest. "Here. Presents. I just wish she were here with me more often," Emma whispered. Owen squeezed her hand. "I know, sweetheart." I know he had no idea that just beyond the door, Natalie was standing there, listening to every word, and the heart of the woman who once seemed made of steel was quietly breaking into pieces. Secrets can't stay hidden forever. On the 23rd night since Owen began teaching Emma, something changed. Trevor Kane, Chief Operating Officer of Wind Tower, was the man Owen always tried to avoid. Kane stood 6'1", his black suit polished like a mirror, his gelled hair as stiff as a helmet, eyes cold as ice. Kane didn't like people who didn't know their place. In his view, a janitor's only rights were to mop floors and take out trash. Period. That night, Kane stayed late to finish the quarterly report. At 11:30, he decided to head out earlier than usual. Passing the 28th floor, he heard a sound. Piano. Kane stopped. Who would still be here at this hour? He stepped quietly toward the harmonia room. Through the small window in the door, he saw Owen Carlyle, in a stained janitor's uniform, seated at the piano with Emma Wynne. They were laughing. They were making music. They were happy. Kane's face flushed red. A janitor, with the CEO's daughter, alone, at night. He didn't knock. He shoved the door. It flew open. "What is going on in here?" Emma startled. Owen stood up fast. "Mr. Kane, You're the janitor," Kane cut in, voice sharp as a blade. "You're paid to mop floors, not to do anything in here with a child." "He's teaching me to play," Emma said, her voice trembling. "I asked him to teach me." Kane looked at Emma, then at Owen. "Do you have any idea how this looks? A grown man, alone with a child, after hours?" "It's not what you think," Owen said, keeping his voice level. "Emma is lonely. She needs someone." "What she needs is none of your business," Kane snapped. "You've broken at least 5 rules. You're not authorized to be in this room. You're not allowed to interact with management's family. And most importantly, you are not permitted to be here after hours without supervision." Owen's heart sank. "Mr. Kane, please, I haven't done anything wrong." "Security!" Kane turned to the door, pressing his radio. 28, Harmonia Room, immediately!" Emma sprang up, reaching for Owen. "No, don't take him. He's my friend." "You should go home," Kane said icily. "And you—" He looked at Owen with disdain. "You're finished here." 2 security guards arrived. One was Marcus, the guard Owen greeted every night, who now looked uneasy. "Escort him out," Kane ordered. "Revoke his badge. Put his name on the blacklist." Marcus stepped closer. "Owen, you need to come with us." Owen looked at Emma. She was crying. "Mr. Owen." "Don't go," she whispered. Owen knelt, hugging her. "Listen, Emma, you have to remember what I taught you. Music isn't on paper, and it isn't only in the keys. It's here." He touched her heart. "No one can take it from you." He pulled a small slip of paper from his pocket. "This is my phone number. If you need me, call. Promise me?" Emma nodded, clutching the paper. Kane strode over and tore it from Emma's hand. "This isn't allowed either." "What kind of person are you?" Owen stood, voice shaking with anger. "A child is lonely, and you—" "What kind of person are you?" Kane barked. "Exploiting a disabled child to satisfy—" "What? Your ego? You want to feel important?" play the hero? He's not exploiting me, Emma shouted. He's the only one who sees me. Kane ignored her. He nodded at Marcus. Take him away. Marcus and his partner took Owen by the arms. They escorted him out. Owen looked back at Emma one last time. She stood alone, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm sorry, Owen whispered. I'm so sorry. They brought Owen down to the lobby, then into HR. Trevor Kane followed behind, making a call. Yes, Ms. Wynne. I need to report a serious incident. Owen sat on a hard plastic chair and waited. He knew what was coming. Termination. No reference. Finding work would be even harder. But the worst part wasn't losing the job. It was losing Emma. Half an hour later, Natalie Wynne walked in, still in her white suit, but her hair was a mess, as if she'd been running. Her eyes were red. She looked at Owen, then at Kane. Explain, she said, trying to keep her voice steady, though it trembled. Kane began. He painted Owen as a predator, a suspicious man exploiting a vulnerable child. The words piled up. Inappropriate, dangerous, serious violation. Natalie listened, her face unreadable. When he finished, she turned to Owen. Do you have anything to say? Owen drew a long breath. I didn't do anything wrong. I was teaching your daughter to play the piano. Emma is lonely. She needs someone. And I need her just as much as she needs me. You need my daughter? Natalie asked, her voice cold. Owen realized how that sounded. Not like that. I mean, I used to play the piano, long ago. After my wife died, I couldn't play anymore. But Emma, she helped me find a reason to play again. She reminded me that music isn't perfection, it's connection. You lost your wife? Natalie asked softly, her tone gentler. Yes, 10 years ago. A car accident. Natalie was silent. Kane cut in. Ms. Wynne, his personal situation is irrelevant. The fact is, Trevor, be quiet, Natalie said, eyes still on Owen. I want to hear him. Owen continued. Emma asked me why I teach her. I told her she reminds me. Music is a gift, not something to hoard, but to share. I don't want anything from Emma, not money, not recognition. I just want her to know she isn't alone. Natalie turned away, her shoulders shaking. She wiped her tears quickly. Then she faced them again, voice firm. Trevor, you were right to report it, but from here, I'll handle this myself. But Miss Wynne? I said I'll handle it, Natalie repeated, this time glacial. You can go. Thank you for keeping watch. Kane was displeased, but he couldn't argue with the CEO. He shot Owen a warning look and left. The door closed. Natalie sat across from Owen. Do you know my daughter is blind because of me? She asked quietly. Owen froze. I didn't know. We went hiking. A rare weekend I was free. Emma slipped, fell down the slope. I couldn't catch her. Natalie paused, her voice breaking. I wasn't there when she needed me. And now, I try to make up for it with everything. The best school, the best teachers, but I still haven't given her the one thing that matters most. What's that? Owen asked softly. A mother's presence, Natalie whispered. And you, a stranger, gave my child what I couldn't. Ms. Wynne, call me Natalie. Owen nodded. Natalie, I'm not trying to replace you. I just saw a lonely little girl and thought of my own daughter. Mia is 12 too. After my wife died, I worked 3 jobs to raise her. But many times, I wonder if it's enough. If food and clothes are enough, when what she really needs is a father who's present. Natalie looked at him, and for the first time, she saw him. Not a janitor, a person, a father, someone struggling just like her. "You're not fired," she said. Owen stared. I'm not." "No. But you also can't keep working as a janitor." Owen's heart sank. So it was still the end, just in another form. Then Natalie said, "I want to hire you as Emma's private music teacher. Officially. Fair pay. A clear contract." Owen thought he'd misheard. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. My daughter needs you. And I think—" Natalie hesitated, then went on, "I think you need her, too." Tears spilled over. For the first time in 10 years, Owen cried. Not from pain, but from relief. From hope. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." Natalie smiled. A real smile. Not a boardroom mask. "No, thank you. For reminding me that my child doesn't need a perfect mother. She needs a present one." But not everyone was pleased. Trevor Kane sat in his office, seething. He couldn't stomach it. A janitor. Yes, a janitor. Being favored? Promoted into some special role? It wasn't fair. It broke the order. And Kane lived for order. He opened his laptop and began typing an email to the board of directors. "Dear board members, I wish to report an inappropriate action by CEO Natalie Wynn." 3 days later, Owen officially started his new job. No more janitor's uniform. He was given a small room on the 27th floor, right next to the Harmonia room. A salary of $4,500 a month, triple what he used to earn. Mia couldn't believe it when her father told her, "You're going to teach music?" Her eyes lit up. "You're going to play the piano again?" "Yes, baby girl," Owen said, hugging her tightly. "I'm going to play again." Mia held him close. "I've waited so long for this." Inside Owen's chest, something large felt mended again. But while Owen and Emma were happy, Trevor Kane moved in silence. He hired a private investigator to dig into Owen's past. And within a week, Kane found exactly what he wanted. An old Boston Globe article from 2015. Renowned pianist abandons career after family tragedy. The article told the story of Owen Carlisle, former member of the U.S. Army Orchestra, who had left music after his wife's death. But one detail made Kane stop. Carlisle missed several performances in the months leading up to his wife's passing, causing tension with orchestra management. Kane smirked. The weapon he needed was right there. He drafted a second email. This time, not to the board of directors, but to the Parent Association of the Lighthouse for the Blind, where Emma studied. Subject: Safety concern. Regarding Wynn Industries, music instructor, dear parents, I am writing to raise a concern about the safety of our children. A man named Owen Carlisle is currently employed by Wynn Industries as a music instructor. However, he has a concerning background. Abruptly resigned from a professional position, spent 10 years as a janitor for unclear reasons, interacts with children without a teaching license. No publicly verified criminal background check. I urge us to demand clarification from Wynn Industries regarding this decision. The email was sent. The storm began. 2 days later, Natalie received over 50 protest emails from parents. Some demanded Owen's termination. Others threatened to withdraw their children from Wynn's educational programs. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. "Natalie, you must understand," said Robert Chen, the chairman, sternly. "We can't risk the company's reputation over a personal decision." "This isn't a personal decision," Natalie replied firmly. "It's the right one." "Mr. Carlisle lacks a teaching certificate," added Margaret Foster. "He has no formal experience with disabled children. And more importantly, he has a history of instability." "What history?" Natalie demanded. Margaret slid a folder across the table. Kane's objective report, laced with subtle insinuations. Natalie skimmed through it, her face flushed with anger. "This is defamation," she said. "Trevor Kane deliberately twisted—" "Ms. Wynne," Robert interrupted calmly, "we're not questioning your intentions. But you must see our point. We can't defend this publicly." "So, what do you want me to do? Fire an innocent man because of rumors?" "We want you to reconsider," Margaret said. "Or at least find a candidate with proper qualifications." Natalie looked around. Every board member avoided her eyes. Their minds were made up. She stood. "I'll think about it. But I won't let any of you, or anyone, judge a person's worth by their title or their degree instead of their character." She walked out, slamming the door. That night, Natalie sat in her 45th floor office, staring out over glittering Seattle. The city lights shone bright, but she felt nothing. All she could see was Emma's face, glowing as she played beside Owen. The phone rang, an unknown number. "Hello? Ms. Wynne, this is Sarah Mitchell from the Seattle Times. I'm covering the controversy over your decision to hire Owen Carlisle. Would you like to comment?" Natalie hung up. The press already knew. The story was about to explode. She pressed her forehead into her palms. For the first time in years, Natalie Wynne, the most powerful woman in Seattle, felt powerless. Owen heard the news too. Mia read the article online, then looked up at him. "Dad, they're talking about you, aren't they?" Owen opened his laptop. The headline, "Wynne Industries hires unqualified janitor to teach disabled children. Parents outraged." The article didn't lie, but framed the truth to make Owen look like a fraud, emphasizing his lack of credentials, his absence of formal training, and how he had suddenly emerged from janitorial work. The comments were worse. "Typical rich people think they're above the law. I'd never let my kid near this man. Why not hire a real teacher?" Owen closed the laptop. He couldn't read anymore. "You okay, Dad?" Mia whispered. "I'm fine, baby girl," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm fine." But he wasn't. It felt just like 10 years ago, when the world collapsed. And all he could do was watch. That night, Emma called. Her voice shook. "Mr. Owen, I heard Mom on the phone. They want you to leave?" Owen swallowed hard. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. But what if they make you go? What if you disappear, like my dad?" Owen's heart cracked. "Emma, listen to me. Your father left not because of you. He had his own demons. But me? I'll never leave you, no matter what happens. You promise?" Owen closed his eyes. Tears fell. "I promise." But that night, lying in bed, Owen wondered if he could keep that promise. Because this time, he wasn't just fighting a company. He was fighting public opinion, prejudice, and an entire system. One that believed men like him, without diplomas or prestige, didn't deserve a place. And this time, he wasn't sure he could win. The next morning, Owen decided to do something he hadn't done in 10 years. Go back to Boston. He flew to the city where he once lived, where Sarah was buried, where he had once been happy. He went to Symphony Hall, still as grand and elegant as ever. He knocked on the office door of the orchestra director. A middle-aged woman opened it. "Yes? I'm Owen Carlisle. I used to play here." Her eyes lit up. "Owen! My God, it's been so long. Come in." It was Helen Park, the orchestra's former HR director. She had retired but still consulted part-time. "I need help," Owen said. "I need someone to prove that I'm not what they're saying I am." Helen listened to everything. Then she nodded. I remember you very well, Owen. You were one of the most dedicated musicians we ever had. You didn't leave because you were unstable. You left because you were broken. And back then, none of us knew how to help you. Could you write a letter of recommendation? Something to confirm I never had any ethical or behavioral issues? I'll do more than that, Helen said. I'll call everyone from the old orchestra. We'll write a collective statement. Meanwhile, in Seattle, Natalie wasn't sitting still either. She called a press conference. The media flooded in. Everyone wanted to hear the CEO of Wynn Industries defend her controversial decision. Natalie stepped up to the podium in her signature white suit. But this time there was no polished smile, only sincerity. I'm standing here today not as the CEO of Wynn Industries, she began, but as a mother. Pens flew across notepads. My daughter, Emma, lost her sight when she was 8. And I, the one who was supposed to protect her, wasn't there. I was too busy building this company, too busy proving I could rise after my husband abandoned us. I thought making money was the best way to love my child. I was wrong. The room fell silent. A man named Owen Carlyle did something I could not. He saw my daughter. Not as a disabled child to be pitied, but as an artist waiting to be awakened. He doesn't have a teaching degree. He doesn't have a certificate. But he has something far more important. A heart. Natalie paused. Her voice trembled slightly. Critics say I broke the rules, that I endangered my daughter. But I want to ask, what is real danger? Letting a good man teach your child music? Or teaching your child that human worth is measured only by titles and diplomas? A reporter raised a hand. Ms. Wynn, aren't you worried about legal repercussions? No, Natalie said firmly, because Owen Carlyle passed a full background check. He has no criminal record. He's a single father raising a 12-year-old girl. He gave up a prestigious musical career to care for his family. And now he's being judged unfairly simply because he once worked as a janitor. So what's your message then? Another reporter asked. Natalie looked straight into the cameras. We live in a sick society, one where a piece of paper matters more than integrity, where people are judged by their jobs instead of who they truly are. If we don't change, we'll keep overlooking extraordinary people just because they don't fit our mold. She paused for a beat, then finished. Owen Carlyle doesn't need a certificate to teach my daughter, because the most important lesson he's teaching isn't music. It's humanity. Camera shutters exploded. Questions poured in, but Natalie had said all she needed to say. She stepped down. The press conference video went viral within hours. Millions of views. And the comments began to shift. She's right. We're too obsessed with credentials. I was wrong to judge that man. Cried reading this. The world needs more people like Owen. But not everyone changed their mind. Some still objected. Some accused Natalie of emotional manipulation to justify a poor decision. A week later, Owen returned to Seattle. He carried a thick folder, a letter of endorsement from 47 former orchestra members, an official clean background check, and one special item, a video of his final performance with Sarah sitting in the front row 10 years ago. Natalie called for a second board meeting. This time, she invited Owen to attend. Owen stepped into the conference room on the 45th floor. The members looked at him, some curious, some skeptical. Trevor Kane was there too, sitting in the corner, tense as a drawn bowstring. Good afternoon, Owen began, his voice slightly unsteady. I know you all have questions about me. I'm here to answer them. Robert Chen, the chairman. Mr. Carlyle, we've reviewed your file. Impressive. But the question remains, why did you abandon your musical career to become a janitor? Owen took a deep breath. Because, after my wife died, I couldn't play anymore. Every note was a knife. I needed a job to raise my daughter. A job where no one asked about my past. Janitorial work gave me that. But it also took away part of my soul. Until I met Emma. What did Emma Wynne do? Margaret Foster asked. She reminded me why I played in the first place. Not for fame, not for money, but for connection, to make someone feel less alone. Sarah, my wife, once said, "Music is a gift. Don't keep it to yourself." I'd forgotten that, until Emma helped me remember. Owen opened his laptop and played the video. On the screen, a younger, happier Owen performed Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. The camera panned to the front row. Sarah, smiling through tears. "That was the last time I saw my wife alive," Owen said hoarsely. 2 hours later, she was gone in a car accident, and I couldn't play again. Not until Emma. The room fell silent. A few members discreetly wiped their eyes. Robert Chen stood. "Thank you, Mr. Carlyle. We'll take a vote." 5 minutes later, the result was announced. 7-2 in favor of keeping Owen. The 2 opposing votes came from Trevor Kane, present as an advisor, and 1 conservative member. Natalie smiled. The motion passes. Owen Carlyle is hereby appointed music director of the Wynne Foundation. Trevor Kane shot to his feet, face flushed. "This is a mistake. You'll all regret it." "Trevor," Natalie said coolly, "please step outside." Kane stormed out, slamming the door behind him. After the meeting, Natalie and Owen stood by the window, looking out over the Seattle night. "Thank you," Owen said, "for believing in me." "No," Natalie shook her head softly. "Thank you for reminding me that the right person isn't always the one with the most degrees, but the one with the biggest heart." Owen smiled. "Emma's lucky to have you as her mother." "No," Natalie replied, her eyes glistening. "I'm the lucky one to have Emma as my daughter, and luckier still to have you remind me of that." 10 months later, Wynne Concert Hall, the newly built music auditorium inside Wynne Tower, was packed. 300 seats, every single one taken. Parents, students, journalists, investors, and curious Seattle locals had all gathered to witness the debut of the Wynne Foundation, a free music program for children with disabilities. On stage, 30 children prepared their instruments, 10 blind, 8 deaf with cochlear implants, 5 with cerebral palsy, and 7 on the autism spectrum. At the center sat Emma Wynne, 13 years old, before a grand Steinway piano, her hair neatly tied back, a silver bracelet on her wrist, engraved with the words, "Music is light." Owen stood at the conductor's podium, dressed in a black suit, his eyes as warm as ever. Beside him was his daughter, Mia, holding her violin, nervous but glowing. The lights dimmed. The hall fell utterly silent. Owen raised his hands, held a beat, then lowered them. The music began. It was an original symphony titled "The Things We Cannot See," composed by Owen, inspired by Emma. The opening melody came from Emma's piano, gentle, fragile, yet full of life. Each note poured out like the story of a girl who had found light in darkness. Then the orchestra joined in. Violins, cellos, flutes. Every child played their part, imperfectly, but sincerely, and together they created something heartbreakingly beautiful. In the front row sat Natalie Wynne, no phone in her hand, no thoughts of work, only quiet, listening. Tears slid down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. Beside her, Rosa, the loyal Filipino housekeeper, whispered through tears, "Miss Emma's grown so much." "Not just Emma," Natalie smiled softly. "All of us have." The music swelled. Emma launched into a fierce solo, pouring out everything she had ever felt: loneliness, fear, loss, and then hope. Then the melody softened again, gentle. One by one, the instruments faded out. Only the piano remained, clear and pure as water. Emma struck the final note. Silence. 1 second. 2. Then, thunderous applause. The entire hall rose to its feet. 300 people clapping, cheering, crying. On stage, the children bowed. Owen bowed, and Emma rose, facing the audience. She couldn't see them, but she could feel their love. "We did it," Emma whispered. "No," Owen said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "You did it." After the performance, during the reception in the grand lobby, Emma and Owen stood side by side, surrounded by reporters. One asked Emma, "How do you feel after your first concert?" Emma smiled. "I feel seen. Mr. Owen once told me that music isn't about what we see. It's about what we feel. And today, I feel that people truly heard me." Another reporter turned to Owen. "Mr. Carlyle, what's next for this program?" Owen glanced at Emma, then at Natalie, standing nearby. Natalie stepped up to the microphone. "We're expanding," she announced. "The Wynn Foundation will fund free music programs in 20 schools across the country for children with disabilities. And we'll train teachers. No music degree required. Only heart and dedication." A reporter challenged, "But without degrees, how do you ensure quality?" Owen smiled. "By looking at who they are, not what's on their papers. By asking, do they truly care? Instead of, do they have a certificate? Some of the best teachers I've ever met had no formal degree. They only had love for music and the desire to share it." When the evening ended, the hall emptied slowly. Owen, Natalie, and Emma remained on stage, surrounded by quiet rows of empty seats. "Thank you," Emma said, holding both their hands, "for believing in me." "No," Natalie said, gently squeezing her daughter's hand. "Thank you for teaching me how to love the right way." Emma turned to Owen. "And thank you for not giving up on me, even when everyone said you should go." Owen embraced her. "I made a promise, and I kept it." They sat there, a mother who had learned to be present, a girl who had learned to see with her heart, and a man who had learned how to live again. Outside Wynn Tower, Trevor Kane stood staring up at the building he once called his own. He'd been fired 3 months earlier, not for sabotaging Owen, but for leaking internal data to a competitor. Natalie herself had led the investigation. Kane didn't just resent Owen. He envied Wynn Industries' success. Now he was unemployed, his reputation ruined. No company in Seattle would hire him. His phone rang. An unknown number. "Mr. Kane, this is Owen Carlyle." Kane froze. "What do you want?" "I heard you're looking for work. The Wynn Foundation needs an operations director. The pay's modest, but it's a chance to start over. Would you be interested?" Kane went silent. "After everything I did to you, why would you help me?" Owen paused. "Because someone once gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve it either. And I believe everyone deserves a chance to change. The question is, do you want to?" Kane closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt true remorse. "Yes," he whispered. "I do." "Good. Meet me Monday. We'll start again." Some lessons in life aren't taught in classrooms. They come from unseen moments, from choosing what's right when doing wrong would be easier, from seeing people or choosing not to. Owen Carlyle didn't need a degree to teach Emma Wynne, because the greatest lesson he ever taught wasn't about music. It was this: a person's worth isn't measured by titles. It isn't defined by certificates. It's revealed through action, presence, and kindness. And sometimes, the most important person in your life isn't the one in the corner office on the top floor, but the one quietly mopping the floors at night, the one you never notice until they change everything. Based on true stories of unlicensed teachers who change their students' lives forever. Subscribe if you believe that music and kindness can heal what the eyes cannot see. Thank you for staying until the very end, and see you in the next story.